Hello and welcome to the Grumpy Bagel Podcast. I am your host, Megan. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as the Grumpy Bagel. This is a knitting and nerdy podcast. Thank you for joining me today. This is episode 14. And if I get more awkward than usual or stumble over some things, this is the second time I have recorded this episode. I, about a week ago, tried to record, even though I actually physically made a list of all the reasons why I shouldn't record that day, but I did not acknowledge any of them, recorded anyway. It turned into a pretty hot mess. So, I am trying again today. I have less things on my mind right now, or on my mind, but just not as many things are wrong today as they were a few days ago, although I am still dealing with a headache that seems to have lasted about 2 weeks. The weather is still very hot in Central California. It is very smoky, and lots of people are complaining of like flu-like symptoms because of the bad air quality. And it's just hot, and that just messes with you too after a while. But I am not sleep deprived today. That is a plus that an advantage that I have over the last day I recorded, because I should know better. I do dumb things when I don't sleep, like record doing dumb things. So there. We'll get right into the knitting content. We'll start with finished objects. First finished object that I have is my hitchhiker shawl, which I made for the Nerdville Yarns Don't Panic Knit Along. I got all 42 teeth on mine. Hooray! Little tail there. So this is out of Nerdgirl Yarns Bounce and Stomp in the Time Warrior colorway, which was from, I can't remember what month it was, but a Who's Your Doctor club skein inspired by the Third Doctor, John Pertwee. It is nice and squishy. It's I don't know, I like knitting my hitchhikers on a fairly tight gauge, even though it's meant to be nice and, loose and squishy, but I like them this way, and I got all 42 teeth on mine. So that, I don't know. It turns out you didn't have to have 42 teeth for your project to, apply. No, it's not an interview. To count as a submission, but I don't know, it just makes me feel more nerdy that I got 42 teeth out of mine. So, my hitchhiker. I finished a Spindrift shawl by Helen Stewart, show you here, out of Once Upon a Corgi Ginger in Lady of Shalott. So that is her sparkle fingering base. Try to get a good detail of the eyelet border here. And the picot bind off. It's turned out really pretty. So it's not my colors, but I appreciate them and enjoy them all the same. It turned out smaller than I thought it might, although, once you put it on, it's fine. So, yeah, that looks nice. So it's not for me, but it turned out nicer. It blocked out really nice, but still not as big as I thought it might be, and I had a lot left over. I used size 5 needles on this, and I still had a fair amount left over, and I was hoping to use up as much of the yarn as I possibly could, and I hope this isn't another instance of gauge attacks like I was dealing with last episode, but it is very nice. It's so soft, too, this base. So I'm not sure if you can see the sparkle in it. Okay, a little bit there. Yeah, that'll do. So, and then got the nice curly cute edge. So I might make another one of these, going up in needle size, or maybe even going up on a yarn weight like Amber Yarn Hoarder did. She did hers out of a DK. Wait, that looked really nice. So my Spindrift, Lady of Shalott. As I mentioned last time, sock school has begun, and we are in the middle of sock school now, although we're actually coming up toward the end on September 3rd. So all the rest of my finished objects are socks. Lots of socks. I have been cranking through all the socks. it gives me an excuse to knit socks without feeling guilty about it, even though you shouldn't feel guilty about knitting socks. I mean, apparently I do, but I'm weird that way. So, and it's a great chance for me to bust through some stash, so that is what I am doing. And the first finished pair that I have, trying to manage my sock blockers here, is made out of, sorry, trying to get all of it in frame here. And all the pairs that I will show you, sorry, are on size 1 needles. I use 56 stitches on all of them. They will be different, foot lengths, but that is my basic sock formula for now. So let me just tell you about the yarn. This is out of 3 Irish Girls Adorn Luxe in the Parisienne color. We've got a really nice spiraling going on here. So this is what I got at Rumpelstiltskin a little while ago. This is going to be for my Aunt Laura, which, well, I guess it's not a surprise anymore. Sorry, Laura. But she has the same size feet as me, so it's easy to make socks for her. So, Parisienne. The second pair of socks are actually shorty socks. And this is just always awkward, isn't it? This is from the Once Upon a Corgi Series of Unfortunate Events Club. Leftovers from colors that I used in my Find Your Fade shawl. So Audrey, this is the first Audrey base. She's released a second version, but this is the original base, which was a 80/20 Superwash Blueface Leicester nylon blend. So the main color here is Briny Beach. And for contrasting cuffs, heels, and toes, I use Dark as a Crow at Night. And I've been wanting to make socks out of these colors for a while, but I was really not sure of the amount that I had left of Briny Beach, and I just held off on it for a long time because I couldn't figure out how I wanted to make them, because I knew I was limited. And I kept trying to convince myself that I had enough to make a full pair of socks. I mean, maybe like have the cuff up here or so, and I just really didn't have enough. I only have like 4 grams left after this pair. But I don't normally make shorties, I think I already said, but for these I don't mind so much. So it was a new thing for me, technically. So yeah, as long as I used a contrasting cuff as well, then I had enough to complete these. But I'm really happy with how they turned out. So I don't know if I'll continue to make shorties in the future or not, or if this will just be, an exceptional pair. But I am happy with them. So, Briny Beach socks. For the next pair, I finally dove into the new skeins from Little Skein in the Big Wool, her new releases for this year's sock school. And the first pair that I made was the Blueberries for Sal socks. And I got a coordinating mini for the heels and toes. So this is out of this house sock base, which is what I made my Spring Pig socks out of, the Targhee nylon base, which is scrummy and squishy. So this is Blueberries for Sal. And the mini is actually of a different base. It's the House Twist base, which is the same fiber content and in the same proportions, but the put up is different. So these are actually technically an 8-ply. So it's really tightly spun, nice and springy, and knits tighter than the House does. So I wasn't sure how it would play out, putting them next to each other like that. So I did have to make the toe actually a little bit longer because the gauge ends up being so tight even on the same size needles. But I'm really happy with how they turned out. So Blueberries for Sal. These will be for my mom. And for the last finished pair, it's also in house sock. Also for the heels and toes this time, this is Forget Me Not, which was inspired by Ferdinand the Bull. And I'm not sure if you can, how well you can see it. Oh, there's a little bit here. So it's kind of a very grayish purple here without the, the speckles here, but every once in a while you get a little bit of green in there too, which I think is really fun. See a little bit more over here. So I really like how these turned out. So once again, this one I had a house sock mini as well, so I didn't have to do anything different to the toe than I normally do. That's how those turned out. So forget me not as I cover the heel. Now into works in progress. I am still working on my striped cowl by Mathilde Scar out of, whoops, there's the progress keeper. So this is where I was last time I recorded. I've worked my way up this far. So for the main color, well, the contrasting color here, I am using Canon Hand Dyes Anay in silver. And for the stripes, I am using a also Canon Hand Dyes Charles mini skein set in Here Comes the Sun. That's how far I've got. And I'm going a lot slower on this one than I did the last cowl, which was the Victorian Horror cowl. And I'm not sure if it's because I made them so close together, relatively speaking, because I've noticed that for some patterns, if I remake it too soon, I'm not sure if enjoy is the right word, but I just don't work as quickly on the second one as I did on the first one. And for some strange reason, this is feeling like obligation knitting. And I'm not sure why. I guess there doesn't really always have to be a reason why, but it's like I kind of struggle to, and I'm making myself in between when I, cast off something to put another stripe in this one, and and I'm waving in my ends as I go. You can see there. So it's not like I'm dreading the end of it and all the finishing work that I have to do, because I'm already minimizing it for myself now, because I really don't want to have to deal with that later. So I don't know how quickly I'm going to end up ending this project, but I guess that's okay. There'll probably come a point where I just can't stand it anymore and just churn through it and finish it really fast, but we'll see. But in the meantime, I'm still working on it. It's just going slow. So I've just been talking to you like this the whole time. I'm sorry. I'll put it away now. I am working on another pair of socks for sock school, and this time I'm using house sock again in the Stella Luna colorway. Show you the side here. And I finished the first sock, but it's all the way over there. I don't want to get up to pick it up. So here is the second sock, about halfway, almost halfway down the leg. Show you on the back too. So exciting stuff over here. Almost a quarter of a sock. And the sock that I just showed you is the 7th pair of socks that I have made for sock school so far. And it wasn't until about the 7th sock, surprisingly enough, that I started to feel a little burned out on socks. As much as I love them, as satisfying as it is to stack those up and say I made this many things, but it was like another sock, and I was starting to feel kind of bored with my knitting, which is always kind of a scary feeling. So I cast on a new project. I've been itching for shawls lately. Don't know if you could tell by everything else I've been showing you. So I cast on for a project I've had in mind for a while. So can you guess what this is? No, of course you can't. This is a very generic shawl beginning with only one color in it. Of course you can't tell. Sorry, your headaches make me snarky. I started a Color Affection shawl by Vera Valimaki. I just finished the first, sorry, my needles are all twisted. So just finished the first section. So just got the base in, ready to join the second color, which, oh, I forgot to get the colors for you. So as many of you know, Color Affection is a striped shawl, eventually, that event goes on to include short rows in it. So it's a really interesting color play. So my color A is this gray. It is, leaning. This is out of the Plucky Knitter Primo Fingering and Be Steel My Heart. And the second color that I will join, my color B, will be this guy. This is totally tubular, which is threatening to blow out the camera. So it's already got some black and gray speckles in it. So I'm hoping that'll be an interesting play on that. And then my color C will be Love Potion number 9, which is definitely blowing out a little bit. Yeah, that's better. So this is, I'm hoping it works out nicely. I think it'll be fun. So these are the colors that will be all in there eventually. But I just, I don't know when I'm going to end up going on to the next section, because I still want to work on the socks and, try to get what I can done before sock school ends. But I just really needed to get some, larger gauge garter stitch squishiness out of my system. And I'm using number 7 needles. And I have gauge so far. I didn't block it because it's garter stitch. And so I'm hoping that I don't have another, attack of gauge. I'm a little bit nervous about that. But also just trying to enjoy it and go with it, which is hard when you have anxiety. But we're going to go with it and see how it is. And since I'm a process knitter, it's not always heartbreaking to rip things out and start over again. Sometimes, but not always. So we're going to go with that. And that brings me into acquisitions. So the first thing I have to show you is the latest installment. So the July installment of the Who's Your Doctor Club by Nerd Girl Yarns. I get the Bounce and Stomp base, and I'm trying to figure out how to show this again because I had a really hard time the last time I recorded because it's so red without, messing up with my red background. So, oh no. Here, I'll try to I'll try to get behind it there. So this is Don't Forget Me. This is really difficult and really awkward. This is Don't Forget Me, which is inspired by Sarah Jane Smith and her, I think it was her last episode with the Fourth Doctor with Tom Baker. So, okay, that's doing better there. Gets a little bit pink over here, which is really cute. So, Don't Forget Me. And hopefully the next skein won't be as awkward to show you here. So, Who's Your Doctor Club? And I have another installment from a different Nerd Girl Yarns club. This is from the O Captain Club. And I get the binary base on this one just to mix things up a little bit. And so this is the August club. Now I'm confused because they come at 2 to 3 weeks apart, and I can't remember which month it's supposed to be. But this one I am very, very pleased with. This is Captain Swan, who is, of course, Elizabeth Swan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So there's just that very subtle... I'm trying to find the right spot. That's better. Under I have gold under the black. So this is inspired by her Chinese robes that she wears when she's officially made captain. And her brocades. And some of the gray and the black is broken a little bit around. So it's a really, really interesting color that she came up with. Because at first when I saw the airplane, I didn't see the airplane, sorry. When I first saw the inspiration photo for this, I thought it might be, a more bold stark variegated with, you know, a section of gold and then the rest being black. But to mix it in like this is really, really nice. So I'm very excited to play with that later and see how it turns out. So Captain Swan. And the rest of my acquisitions are from stocking the D-Stash pages, which, okay, I stock them all the time, but I don't always get a lot of things from them. Because, you know, if you can, I like to get D-Stash before I order online, just because there's, you know, even if it's not something that you simply can't get anymore or can't buy anymore, I know how relieving it is for someone to get my D-Stash and to have it, you know, go out into the world into a happier, better home than what I can provide for it. Yes, I know I'm talking about inanimate objects, but who cares? So I like to try to help out another raveler first, if it's at all possible. But these are some rarities that I found. And they're all striping, which is very odd. I don't normally gravitate towards self-striping unless it's something really, 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 really pretty, but I love the references that have been made in these colors as well. So there you go. So the first one I have to show you is a Canon, the first two are Canon hand dyes. Self-striping, they're in different bases. This is from, I can't remember what year it was that she did her Shakespeare Club, but these are both from the Shakespeare Club. And they both happen to also be from Much Ado About Nothing. Well, inspired by Much Ado About Nothing. So the first one is from a new base from, well, a different base that I've tried before. This is, Arthur Self-Striping, which is a Blue-Faced Luster blend. And this is, there's a skirmish of wit between them. Ooh, it's blowing out. There, that's better. That's better. So this is a self-striping with some really nice burgundy reds and rich blues with a sort of purpley mini skein, which I didn't realize until I recorded last week. It's perfect because it's a blend of red and blue. How clever, you idiot, Megan. So this is inspired by Beatrice and Benedict, who are one of my favorite couples ever. They're just awesome and snarky and amazingly themselves. So here's the tag. I'm trying to make sure you can see it. So, Skirmish of Wit. And this skein is in the Charles Self-Striping, which is a merino nylon blend. And, oh boy, this is so pretty. Ah! So it's black that's going to stripe with these gorgeous, gorgeous blues and greens. And this one is called I Desire Nothing But the Reward of a Villain, which is inspired from Baraccio's confession to Claudio, that he has intentionally messed things up in a very, very big way, and he's very sorry now. But, oh, it's so pretty! Tag here. I cannot wait to make these into some socks. Because, one, they're pretty. I may have mentioned that already. But, you know, it says, you know, reward of a villain. I like villains. A lot. I shouldn't, but oh well. And I'll get to feel pretty and villainous while I'm wearing them. What more could you ask for? And the last skein is a yarn that you can still get. You have to wait for an update for this shop. But I just happened to find it on D-Stash, and you can never find this color on D-Stash. And I was actually looking for something else and just happened upon this and said, yes, I'll take it, please. This is Trailing Clouds Nimbus Self-Striking in Mind the Gap. I'm so excited! As soon as I saw this, how many years ago, I just absolutely fell in love with it. Said I have to have it somehow. So this is self-striping, I think, obviously. But I think every time that she dyes it, the colors come in different orders, if I'm remembering correctly. So these colors are from all the different lines of the London Underground, or the Tube. so the British subway system. And just, it makes me so nostalgic, which is a rare mood for me, to be genuinely nostalgic. But London is, so far, my favorite city in the world. And the Tube is, so far, the best transit system. Oh my. The best transit system that I have ever experienced. So I will be very, very happy to have socks made out of these. And I'll, be waiting for the Bakerloo line, which is the one that I use the most often. So it'll be just lots of great memories and lots of nostalgia, and just for my Anglophile heart, it just makes me so, so happy. So I think that's all that I have to share with you today, besides current obsession, which is called Cabin Pressure, which was a radio series by the BBC about 10 years ago, I think it started. The reason I get to this is because I've been catching up on all the back episodes. Wow, I need a cup of tea. The back episodes of Stranded Podcast, which is hosted by Amy, and she mentioned that she liked to listen to Cabin Pressure over and over again. And it stars Benedict Cumberbatch and Roger Allam. And I remember seeing promo pics for this, and I had always assumed that, very ironic that a plane is going by. I had always assumed that it was a sitcom, so a television show, but found out, no, it was a radio show, and would probably be a lot easier for me to access then. So I was able to find some to listen online. You can get it on iTunes as an audiobook, and it is absolutely hilarious. So it's Roger Allam and Benedict Cumberbatch as the pilots of a one airplane airway, and their misadventures and antics, and just it's just so incredibly British and so dry, and Roger Allam is so sarcastic, and I love his voice, and it is just one of the best things I have heard in a long, long time, and it makes me laugh no matter what. I might be on my third listen through it already, so go ahead and check out Cabin Pressure. Also check out Amy of the Stranded Podcast if you haven't already. And Jade Prosser just put up her second episode of the Mischief Maker podcast. I'm very excited to see that she is podcasting now, and I really liked her last episode, so episode 2. New podcast, because man, she's keeping it real, and I love that and appreciate that, because you can hear the kids getting up to something in the background. You can hear Atticus crying, and at one point you hear this crash, and she just thinks about it for a second. She says, "That was a bucket of blocks," and then she just goes on with what she was talking about. So that's a great grace under pressure, and just like I said, keeping it real. But I really appreciate and really looking forward to I think episode 3 should come out later today, so I'm looking forward to that. I should probably get a cup of tea first and try to reanimate my brain a little bit, and then go on to some knitting and tea and podcast, which sounds like a great way to spend the rest of my day off. So I will leave you with that for now, and I will see you next time, and until then, happy knitting and happy nerding, everybody. Bye.